Yeah, I'm joined again by Josefin and Jonathan.
Yeah.
We're here to talk more Valheim.
Yeah.
I'm a little out of breath, so I'll be with you.
Exciting times.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting. I mean, it's been the whole journey from early access and finally going to go to 1.0. And I know everybody's are like, oh, it's never going to happen. They're taking all their time, but it's been a fairly clear development cycle where we have like the big 3 biomes that we're going to finish. So Deep North is going to be 1.0, obviously, and there's also going to be a whole lot of, like a lot of other stuff that we're going to try to get in there. So besides the actual biome, there's definitely a lot of other stuff that we're working on. That's going to try to get that in there too.
Yeah. And you sort of learned from your previous biomes like how to make this one, or you look like I don't know if you did.
I mean, it's always that kind of the design philosophy that we kind of have. What would Black Forest do that we've been going for? So it's now it's doing that again, but make it Deep Northy.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be a bit different. For Deep North. I know that a lot of people have different thoughts about Ashlands, and we're actually going to talk more about Ashlands later, I think. But for Deep North, we're going for a little bit different, tone it down a little bit, try to make it nice and cozy again. One of the things that we had is the idea of making a Christmas card. It's definitely going to be difficult. Don't get us wrong there. There's going to be hard parts, but it's probably a little bit more laid back, so you can relax a little bit more in the game.
A final breather before the very end of the game.
Yeah, you could say that. So,
but
yeah, I mean, there's
still an endgame biome very much. So.
Yeah. There will be a lot of difficult monsters and boss definitely for that. So.
Nice.
Hopefully it'll feel like a 1.0, like not just like, oh, another biome, and by the way, it's also done. We do have some cool things that we're going to try to get in there. We're going to look through the rest of the game for a bit. Like not change too much because it's definitely a working recipe, but try to add a little bit of spice here and there for the rest of the game as well.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that stuff in the next segment, where we'll be having sort of a round table discussion with a bunch of games, talking about like what it's like working games for 1.0 and early access and that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, what was the sort of design decisions that, like the major design decisions that went into Deep North?
Well, it's still going on, and we're very much not done yet.
They're definitely being made as we speak, kind of. I mean, we're still in a pre-production, very soon going over to main full production on it. So there's been a lot of different ideas. There's different ways to go, and we're definitely not there on all those points yet. So.
And that's also why we haven't shared anything like publicly, like any visuals from the Deep North yet, because it is very much pre-production, and we don't want to show something that would end up not getting into the game, since it's very much still in the design phase. Yeah. But soon, hopefully. Yeah.
But there's also other things like something that a lot of people ask for, like achievements and possibly mod support and things like that go into, that are like kind of meta game parts of it, but that are also needed for the like Xbox and stuff. And definitely it's coming to Steam then as well. Yeah. So I think hopefully it'll be a good 1.0, and that people will appreciate it. And then that being said, I mean, 1.0 is 1.0. As you guys know, Satisfactory. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's all of it.
It's the end of it, no.
But then we at least feel done with the base game, the original experience. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. You have a talking point that's just difficulty.
Difficulty.
What
is this about?
Oh wow, I don't remember what we were thinking about. But
I think it is very much that the Ashlands is very much a ramp up in difficulty, and we want again to have the Deep North not to be an easy biome, but to still have those like calm moments that you can get to. Like we said, some parts of the Deep North will feel kind of like a Christmas card. Like you can already see now, like in the placeholder that you can see on the B-roll now, it is kind of trees and snow and kind of a calm landscape. And this is still from the Deep North that you can see as a placeholder in the game right now, but it's still gonna have some of that feeling if a lot more fleshed out.
Yeah, and I think one of the things on difficulty there I was thinking about before was like having a bit of an asymmetrical difficulty curve. So the game is not just constantly becoming harder and more grindier in every single biome. Where of course the step from, let's say, Mistlands to Ashlands is definitely a step up in difficulty, and you, as a lot of people have noticed, you get swarmed a lot by enemies. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be like another step up from that.
Gotcha.
More of a parallel step.
Yeah.
Difficult, I guess.
And I mean
difficult in another way.
Yeah, for sure.
And are you like changing any of the previous biomes?
There are like hopes, I think, of having something new for most biomes. Like maybe nothing major, but at least something everywhere, so that there will be a value in replaying the game from the start and not just going into play Deep North, but to actually start the game over from like the very beginning. Since it's going to be the 1.0 game, that's going to be like a whole new experience, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, both adding a few things, tweaking a few things, like going over the biomes, like what feedback have we had during like the whole development process? Because even though we always want to work on the next thing, people are still like, oh, when are you going to fix this in this old biome? And there's definitely some thoughts on like.
We have a whole
tweaking.
icebox.
Yeah, a very big icebox.
All right. Yeah. So the most important question when it comes to 1.0 that we all get as developers. Yeah. Are you going to add achievements to the game?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We will.
What about achievements?
Achievement is definitely going to be on there. So.
Yeah, they better be real good.
I believe.
I know we have a list for that as well, like potential achievements and what they should entail.
Yeah, so, I think we have some good thoughts on achievements. So they're not just going to be there. They're not just going to be there. We're hopefully going to make them good, fairly balanced as well. How did you had a lot on Satisfactory as well? I guess.
How we did, or even I don't know. We try to make achievements for everyone, and then the hardcore people were like, the achievements are too easy. We're like, but everyone plays the I don't know. Some games have like really difficult achievements, and it's all about like finishing the game, but you know,
and not having too grindy, like chop down 10,000 trees or something. That would just be boring. So.
Mod support.
Yeah, I mean, we have a ton of mods. I think the modding community is great. We don't have like official mod support yet because that would add a lot of development time for us. Yeah, like every time we patch the game, it definitely breaks a lot of mods. So it's definitely something we're talking about, that we want to have better mod support. Like to what extent? I don't want to promise anything there, but like 2 or like either 2 1.0 or maybe a bit after there. I think looking at better mod support is something that we want to do. I think.
Cool. Is there going to be like a full-on ending to the game, or? Yeah,
there's going to definitely be an ending to the game. So the game will be like you will be able to play from start to finish. There's going to be an ending. It's going to be cool.
You will still have the opportunity to like stay and work on your base that you've spent many hours on, but you will also be able to have that experience of starting the game, playing the game, finishing the game, and getting that satisfying feeling to completing your big quest.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah. Really cool. Welcome back to Spinning Unicorn. Man, you guys have a lot of segments on this.
Yes.
Which I think is really cool, because like the spill, when we organized this whole thing, the spill is really about like what people bring to this event, and you guys brought the stuff. And we were like, cool, we'll take it, cool.
So limit us a little bit more. Not as much Valheim stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Ashlands in the segment, and some feedback, and you sort of address this stuff.
Yeah. So and also for those who haven't played Valheim, Ashlands is the latest biome that we added to the game, which we added this spring. It was in May, I believe. That was the live release. So it's as of right now, the last biome of the game, but it's going to be the second to last biome once the game is over. So it is very much an end game biome, which means high difficulty.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the reception has been, I think we're in the office like very happy with what we did. It's definitely every biome that we release is like the most worked on biome with the most content, like the most weapons and build pieces and progression.
Most people working on it every time.
Yeah, that too. Like, so we're kind of upping the game every time. The reception has been generally good. Like, there's a lot of people who really like it, but there's definitely been some criticism that it was like way too hard. It's just like too many enemies and everything. And yes, that's true. It's also mostly by design. I mean, this is the end of the game. And I think one problem that we've faced because of this is early access is the fact that like we're building an end game biome, but people will maybe haven't played the game for a year or 2 years.
Yeah, so people came in and they were rusty because they just simply hadn't played it, as opposed to like if you go in and play the game naturally, you would have come from the still pretty difficult Mistlands and then gone directly to the Ashlands, which would be more difficult. But now you maybe were like on a Black Forest level and then went to play the Ashlands, and it got very drastic.
Yeah, or you just go there without being fully prepped with all the foods and all the items and stuff. So, but I mean, that's also one of the challenges that we have, that they were catering to. Like, we have to make sure that our active players get something, but also that the full final experience from playing from start to finish is actually a good game that we want to make. So yeah.
But it is generally hard, like when you make something that you intend to be in a certain way, and it's like it doesn't come across the way that you expect it. Because like maybe people, when they download an update, they just expect like, oh, I can just dive into this immediately, and that's not really the intentional always, you know?
Yeah, and I mean that's something that we learned in this case, that it is harder to release an end game area like that, because you'll definitely have people who just go there and just expect to be like, oh, any other biome. But just and maybe they also forgot like the first time they got into plains and like, oh, this is so pretty, and then like
you died.
And there comes the defeater and just like slams you down or instant kill you. So
yeah, there is definitely like that difficulty spike with each biome. So it's probably because the first 5 biomes were in the game from the start. So then you didn't get that significant spike from like the swamps to the mountains maybe that you feel like you got now.
Yeah, and also the fact that like if you play the game from the start and if Ashlands was there from the beginning, then you're judging it in a different sense. Like then you play the game, and if it turns out like, oh, the next area is too hard, maybe you stay back. Because I know a lot of our players, they simply stay in meadows and Black Forest and just like building forever. And now you're giving them an update, and they want, of course, to access that content. So then they're kind of forced into that area in a different way.
Yeah.
But then again, that is also why we have like the difficulty modifiers that we added earlier before the Ashlands update. So if people do find that the Ashlands is too much of a challenge, there are ways to mitigate that to make it a more suitable experience. Like for myself, whenever we playtested the Ashlands, I always play on easy because I'm not a pro gamer.
And I hope that's been an appreciated part of it. Like, I think that helps a lot of players to be able to play it in the way that they want.
Yeah, and harder if they want that as well.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like, same thing when we worked on updates for Satisfactory, like it's hard to please everyone when you make an update.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like usually, sometimes you have to sort of like focus on one player archetype or whatever. Like, and if people that play the game are very into like the base building aspect of the game and that's the only thing they care about, then yeah, of course, like release an update that is more about like combat in your case, I assume. Then yeah, of course, then that player group will feel left out and. Yeah, and it's hard to convey that.
Yeah, we've gotten feedback from like both types of players. Like there have been the feedback saying the game is way too difficult in the Ashlands, but when we have nerfed that, some people have said, "No, why did you nerf it? It was so good that it was a challenge." So it's
you never win. Like you can't ever get everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, and also initially the first release to PTB. It was definitely difficult, and you had certain like a lot of people like, oh, this is way too much. But there was certain people who were like, well, this is great. I really love this difficulty setting. Then we did tone it down for the live release, and then of course some of them were like, no, it was even better before. And even so, another issue that we had with this was that we did tone it down additionally, but this was released to PTB. Right before the summer, and in Sweden, most people go on vacation during the summer. So at the time, we didn't really have time to finish that off to make sure it was stable to go to live.
Yeah, because we don't want to put something on live that's not stable. Like if there is a risk of crashing, then we'd rather have something that's maybe a little bit unbalanced but stable on live. Yeah,
exactly, and that means that like most people's impressions of Ashlands was like they're playing during the whole summer, and maybe not a lot of people came that thought that was too much, that they would come back after the summer. So for those of you who haven't played it, if you heard that, I mean, I think it's toned down somewhat, but then again, I mean, it's still intended to be an endgame biome. And then going back to what we were talking about before, like we have listened in that regard to make to approach it slightly differently with Deep North, that like not just up this difficulty again, but rather look at like, okay, we want to get a little bit of the feeling of some of the other biomes back, so we don't have the like just a linear curve going up in difficulty.
And hopefully, like when Valheim reaches 1.0 and people come back and play the whole thing again, they will get a different experience of the Ashlands than they got initially.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I hope so.
Can you guys talk a little bit about like how you manage your PTB, like the public test bed, or wait?
Public test branch.
Branch, that's what it is. It's like I was thinking of realm. But yeah, PTB, like how do you approach that? Like is it a thing where you have running in parallel, or is it like a staging ground, or like how do you?
I mean, it's opt-in, so anybody can access it, and it's like we didn't have this a few years ago, and we would just push an update out, and sometimes we'd even do that like end of the week or end of the day, and then somebody calls like, you broke something, and they're like, oh crap, we have to go back, and I just like make a quick patch
Friday
and do
afternoon.
this. And we could also do that quicker when we were only on Steam. Now we have to sync it with the Xbox releases, but it's also like we don't want to be forced to, like, preferably not to do too much stuff on the weekends and stuff like that, to just like fix them. So the PTB is mostly to get it out there, to make sure that like a set amount of players can play it, and we can like get the bug reports in before, and also test like the grounds and see what do people think about this before going out to everyone.
To make sure it's stable and that everything works mostly as we intended.
Yeah.
So it's usually 2 weeks on the public test branch, depending on a little bit.
Because I can relate to the summer vacation thing, because we've had that situation as well, where like Swedish summer, I don't know what to tell you. Swedish, the way it works in Sweden is just everyone goes on vacation at the same time.
And it's great.
And it's awesome. Like we have 4 weeks, like almost, I think it's by law that you have to have at least, if you want to.
If you want to take 4 weeks off, you can do that, and your employer can't tell you not to.
Yeah, can't tell you not to. So usually games or like studios try to like plan around that. And you definitely don't want to put something out there that is like going to be broken during summer.
No.
So it's like better to leave it in a good spot, but then you have the issue that you talked about where like maybe it doesn't reflect the game it is, and people who play on PTB will have a better experience in some ways, but then they need to note that they need to opt in, and maybe there are aspects of PTB that they don't want.
And it'll also be interesting, like in this case, and I'm not saying that it's all been bad, but there's definitely been like a certain amount of players that think like, it's too hard in certain ways. But it'll be interesting to see like how does that balance when we reach 1.0. Like we'll definitely revisit some areas. Like we'll still always look at the feedback and like revisit certain things, maybe in Ashlands as well. But how does that compare when we also have Deep North there, and you have the whole game as a whole for people playing from the beginning? Like how does the balance feel then?
Yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you guys could join us and give us some insight into this, and hopefully people playing Valheim will feel like they learned something.
Thanks for letting us talk.
Yeah. No, you're so welcome. Anytime.